I'm Janet Chandler with the Cullman Tribune, and I'm here to read you another story from Great Black Heroes, 5 Brilliant Scientists. Tonight, I'm going to read about Ernest Everett Just. He was born in 1883, and he died in 1941. He was a remarkable marine biologist. Ernest Everett Just was born on August 14, 1883, in Charleston, South Carolina. His parents, Charles and Mary, had 2 younger children, Hunter and Inez. One day in August 1886, when Ernest was 3, there was a terrible earthquake. The earthquake shook Ernest out of bed. Everything crashed around him. Many people in the town were killed. But the Just family survived. In a strange way, the earthquake would help shape Ernest's life. Because the quake damaged the Just home, they had to move. Mary Just and a group of other black families bought some land on St. James Island in South Carolina. A town was built on the land. It was called Maryville, after Ernest's mother. Maryville is where Ernest first showed an interest in science. Ernest would grow up to become a well-known scientist of marine biology. Ernest took long walks through the woods in Maryville. He stared at the flowers and the animals. He was very curious about how all life began. One day I'll learn more about these things, thought Ernest, and he did. He attended schools for black children, but Southern black schools were not as good as the schools for white children. Mary Just wanted Ernest to have the best education, and the best schools were up north. One day Ernest heard about Kimball Academy, a high school in Meridian, New Hampshire. His mother sent a letter to the school applying for a scholarship for Ernest. They waited for an answer. Then Ernest decided to go visit the school instead. At 17 years of age, Ernest sailed off on a ship to New York. He worked on the ship to pay his fare. When I reached New York, I had a $5 bill and 2 pairs of shoes, Ernest later said. When Ernest finally arrived at Kimball Academy, he found out that he had won the scholarship. Young Ernest was so smart that he finished school in 3 years instead of 4. He graduated in 1903, the top student in his class. He won a scholarship to Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire. At Dartmouth College, Ernest took every biology class offered. He was excited to learn about marine animals, animals that live in the sea. He was an excellent student. Ernest graduated with honors in 1907. After graduation, Ernest looked for a job as a research biologist, but those jobs weren't being offered to black scientists. Some whites didn't believe blacks were good in science. So Ernest took a teaching job at Howard University, an all-black college in Washington, D.C. Though he enjoyed teaching, Ernest missed learning about sea animals. Soon, he had the chance to do both. In 1909, he began studying at the Marine Biological Laboratory in Woods Hole, Massachusetts. Scientists did research on sea animals there. Ernest taught at Howard in the winter and studied at Woods Hole in the summer. He was 26 years old. The young scientist did important work at Woods Hole. He studied the egg cells of sea animals. He learned how the eggs fertilized or developed into living creatures. He discovered which part of a cell made a creature look the way it did. Other scientists were impressed with his work. His research appeared in science textbooks and magazines. Soon, Ernest had something different to celebrate. On June 26, 1912, he married Ethel Hawarden, a teacher. They had 3 children, Margaret, Hawarden, and Maribel. On February 12, 1915, Ernest Just was honored by the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP. This is an organization that fights for the equal rights of minorities. For his work in biology, the NAACP awarded Ernest the Spingarn Medal, a new award for outstanding achievements by a Black American. Ernest was the first to receive the Spingarn. Newspapers carried the big story. The award-winning scientist kept working and studying. He attended the University of Chicago in Illinois. When he graduated on June 16, 1916, he was a doctor of zoology, the study of animal life. After a while, Dr. Just became known as the expert on the early life of sea animals. Dr. Just once challenged the work of a well-known scientist, Dr. Jacques Loeb. Dr. Loeb said he could create sea animals by adding a chemical to unfertilized eggs in extremely salty seawater. But Dr. Just said he could create new sea animals by simply adding the seawater. Dr. Just added the seawater to the unfertilized egg cells. Eventually, he looked through his microscope and saw new sea animals swimming around. Even though Dr. Just had achieved a great deal, prejudice prevented him from getting important jobs in the United States. So by the late 1930s, Dr. Just lived mostly in Europe, studying and working in different laboratories. Scientists there respected his hard work, and they didn't treat him badly because he was Black. Dr. Ernest Just died from cancer on October 27, 1941, in Washington, D.C. He was 58. He wrote over 60 papers and 2 books about his great work. I also noticed that Dr. Just was honored by the United States Postal Service. His picture is a part of the Black Heritage postage stamp series. Good night and have sweet dreams.